My name is Emily. I'm 37 years old. For 19 years, I have worn the title of wife, with quiet pride. My husband, Richard, is 59, kind, responsible, and mature. At least, that's what I believed for most of our marriage. We have two daughters, Lila, who is 18, and Sophie, barely a year old. Our life was simple, not perfect, but peaceful, or so I thought. I stayed home to raise our children while Richard worked. He managed our bills, our savings, our world. I was always the heartbeat of the home. Cooking, cleaning, smiling even when tired. And yet, behind the quiet routines and small joys, something sinister had been growing in the shadows. I just didn't see it. Until one day I did. It began with a feeling, a woman's intuition that something wasn't right. Richard had become distant. He would glance at his phone with a little too much interest, chuckle at messages he wouldn't share, and dodge conversations with vague irritation. One night, I finally asked, "Richard, is there someone else?" He didn't even flinch. "You're imagining things, Emily. Don't start creating problems where there are none." His voice was cold. The man I loved, the father of my children, was lying straight to my face. But I knew. My heart knew. That night, when he fell asleep, I checked his phone. My hands trembled as I unlocked it. My breath caught when I saw the message thread. Her name was Dana. Her face stared back at me in selfies she'd sent him, smiling, dressed up, flirtatious. She was my age. She had a daughter. She was married, too.
And Richard?
He called her my love. He told her, "You're the only one who makes me feel alive." Alive? What about me? What about our daughters? I confronted him the next day. He exploded. "You had no right to look at my phone," he shouted. "You're paranoid. Controlling." Paranoid? I showed him the messages. He went quiet. Then, colder than I'd ever seen him, he muttered, "I'll end it when I want to. You don't get to decide." It wasn't the first time. Years ago, after Lila was born, I'd found out he had been unfaithful. He swore he would never do it again. I had believed him, forgiven him, for Lila's sake. Now here we were again. Except this time, I was older and more afraid. Sophie was just a baby. I wasn't working. I'd taken leave to care for her. We had a mortgage. The apartment was in my name, but we both paid for it. And now, with the child payments from the government ending soon, we desperately needed Richard's income to stay afloat. He knew that. That's what made him powerful. He knew I couldn't just walk away. Lila, wise beyond her years, noticed the tension. She tried talking to him. "Dad, what you're doing is wrong. Please stop." He snapped at her, called her ungrateful, told her to stay out of adult matters. My heart broke for her. She had once been his little princess. Now she was a reminder of the shame he tried to hide. Richard started staying out late. He stopped coming home some nights altogether. "I'm working," he'd say. No calls. No texts. Just silence. I'd sit awake, watching the door, listening to every car that passed, wondering if it was him, praying he wasn't with her. Then he started talking about taking a trip alone. "Why can't we go with you?" I asked softly. "I just need space," he said sharply. Then the money started disappearing. I noticed it first when I went to pay for groceries and my card was declined. I checked our account. Money was being spent at expensive restaurants, gift stores, luxury brands. He was wining and dining her, while I was budgeting diapers and formula. "Where's the money going?" I asked. He didn't even look up. "I'm handling it." I felt myself unraveling. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. The stress was killing me from the inside out. My doctor said, "You need rest. You're severely stressed." How could I rest? My marriage was crumbling, my family barely holding together, and I had a baby who depended on me for everything. Lila started retreating. She stopped going out. She didn't talk much. Her eyes lost their light. "I feel ashamed," she whispered one night. "How can he do this to us?" And little Sophie, she was too young to know what was happening. But she could feel the silence in our home. The tension. The absence. She stopped giggling like she used to. I told my best friend Olivia everything. Emily, she said, gripping my hand, you need to leave him. But I can't, I whispered. How will I raise 2 children alone? I have no job. No money of my own. My family echoed Olivia's words. Be strong. Maybe he'll come back to you. But I no longer believed in that maybe. I was beginning to believe in the harshness of reality instead. And then came the second heartbreak. Richard's phone buzzed one night while he was in the shower. The message flashed across the screen. Miss you already. Can't wait for our weekend together. This time, I called the number. A woman answered. It was Dana. I know who you are, I said. My voice was shaking. You're sleeping with my husband. She didn't even deny it. That's your problem, she said calmly. I'm not breaking up your family. He is. And then, more cruelly, you think he loves you? Please. He's with me every time you think he's working late. That night, I didn't cry. I stared at the ceiling and made a promise to myself. If he wouldn't choose us, I would. I would choose me. I would choose my daughters. Still, I tried once more. I looked into his eyes and asked, Richard, do you still love me? Do you want to be with this family? He said nothing. Just silence. The silence was the answer. I packed a small bag. Took Sophie in my arms. Lila followed me, tears in her eyes, but relief in her shoulders. I left the apartment that night and went to stay with Olivia. Days turned into weeks. I found a part-time job at a local bookstore. It didn't pay much, but it gave me purpose. Lila went back to smiling again. Sophie laughed for the first time in weeks. Richard didn't call. Not once. It was Olivia who finally told me Dana had left him. Apparently, she was only using him to make her own husband jealous. Once he found out, she dumped Richard without a second thought. And suddenly, Richard wanted to come back. He showed up at my friend's house, begging. I was wrong. I made a mistake. I need you. I miss the girls. Please, Emily. His tears looked real. His voice cracked. But I had nothing left. I looked at him, the man I once adored, and all I saw was a stranger. I gave you everything, I whispered. And you threw it away for someone who never loved you. I filed for divorce. I got a second job. My parents helped with the girls. Lila started tutoring younger kids. Sophie began walking. Each day, I got a little stronger. Months later, I found myself walking in the same park where Richard once proposed. This time, I wasn't looking for love. I was watching Sophie chase butterflies while Lila read on a bench nearby. And I realized, peace feels better than love that hurts. One day, I'll tell Sophie the full story. Not to make her hate her father, but to show her what strength looks like. To show her what survival means. To teach her that a broken heart can still beat. That sometimes the person who saves you is you. I'm not the same Emily I was at 19 when I said, I do. I'm not even the same woman I was a year ago, crying quietly while rocking my baby to sleep. Now, I know my worth. Now I know that love without respect is nothing but a prison. Now I know that rising from the ashes is painful, but it's also powerful. So here's to every woman who's ever doubted herself. Who's ever cried into her pillow, hoping he'll change. Who's ever felt invisible, replaceable, unworthy. You are not alone. And you are not weak. You are fire. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes, our darkest stories help others find the light.